We are live. What's up, my friends? Abby here. Welcome to the Write With Me live stream. I'm so glad you're here today, here to write with me and the rest of the Writers Life Wednesday community. So glad you're here today. First things first, tell me if you can see me and hear me. Type in the chat. Tell me if everything is coming through loud and clear. And I'm really excited to get into this writing session. So it's been a month since we came together and wrote together. So hopefully you're ready to write today, whether you're outlining or writing a first draft, maybe you're editing, or maybe you're doing revisions or getting your book ready to publish. Whatever stage of the writing process you're in right now, this is a time where we can all sit down together and dedicate this session to creativity. Okay, so we're going to be doing 3 writing sprints, 25 minutes on, 5-minute breaks in between. And during those breaks, we will set down our writing for a few minutes, talk to each other. You can ask me questions in the chat and I will try to answer as many questions as possible. And then we'll get into our next sprint. So that's how it works. If you're new here, if you've never been here before, welcome. Also type in the chat and tell me where you're tuning in from. Okay, everyone can see me? Can you hear me? Awesome. Fantastic. So type in the chat, tell me where you're from and what you're working on today. What are you writing today? I am going to be working on my nonfiction book, which I've been telling you guys a little bit about, teasing, which is a book about writing, of course. And I'm really excited for this book. I'm very excited to share it with you guys. And I've been making progress, slowly but surely, amongst other projects. But it's been fun. It's been a really great explorative process, and it's actually given me the ability to look at a lot of the templates and questionnaires and prompts and things I've shared with you guys over the years and actually improve upon them. So there's going to be a little bit new. There's going to be a lot of new things in this book that you've never seen before, never heard me talk about before. So I'm pretty excited. It's going to be great. Okay, let's see. We have writers from all over the world tuning in. It's so cool. I see writers from India, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Czech Republic, Nebraska, Greece. So cool. Botswana, Poland, Romania, Florida. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I know for some of you it's probably super early. Some of you it might be super late in the day, but I'm so glad that you can make it. So we're going to get into our first writing sprint in just a minute here. But I first want to say that if you're in the Discord, we're going to be writing a sprint over there too. If you're in the Discord community, we do writing sprints all the time in there. So there's usually writing sprints happening every day in the Discord. If you like this sort of thing and you enjoy this community aspect, I recommend you join the Discord. And you can do that by joining my Patreon at any level. And the link to that is below this live stream. But I'm going to go ahead and start a sprint in the Discord. So if you're over there, feel free to join. I'm going to join over there as well. Yeah, so it's a nice community aspect in the Discord. We always have writers in there chatting and sharing their work and brainstorming together and just giving a good sense of accountability and community. So if that's something that you're into, you feel like you need that in your writing life, you also can support my channel at the same time by joining my Patreon, and the link to that is below. Okay, let's set our timers. I'm going to set my timer on my phone as well as here on the screen for you guys to see. Get rid of all my idling apps. Okay, so I'm going to set this for 25 minutes so that it will ring and everyone will be startled out of their sprint. Hopefully it won't ring too loudly. And hopefully we won't have too much lawnmower noise. I apologize in advance if that becomes too loud. Feel free to mute me. Okay, let's get into our first writing sprint here. Hopefully you have something to drink. I have some iced green tea here, and let's get into our first sprint. Okay, timer's on. Let's go. Number 1 is done. Great job, guys. Hopefully your first sprint was a productive one. Tell me in the chat how it went. I actually don't even know how many words I wrote because with this book I am working with a lot of notes. So my outline kind of is already inside the book and I'm just adding to it, embellishing it. It's an interesting writing process so far. It's definitely very different from writing fiction. So I'm adding some, taking away from the outline and writing at the same time. So it's a bit chaotic, but that was a good sprint for me. Hopefully it was a productive one for you as well. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break here, and I'm going to answer some questions from you guys. So type in the chat if you have any questions about your book or any writing thing in particular. Awesome. Looks like you guys had a great sprint. Fantastic. So many words being written. Great job. Awesome. So we have 2 more sprints to go. So let's see, a question from Chandler Kids. How do you make historical fiction sound more as if it was written in the time period it's set in, besides using archaic words, terms, and spellings? That's a really good question. Because sometimes it can feel difficult to feel like you're authentically in that time period. It's like lived in. I would definitely recommend using some of the vocabulary, and by figuring that out, the best way I find to really immerse yourself in that is to immerse yourself in historical fiction that was actually written during that time period, and any film or TV series that like really accurately embodies it, because not all of them do. Especially now, there are like so many period dramas coming out lately that just have modern language in them, and they don't feel like they're in that time period, and it annoys me a lot. But there are some that are really well done, and even better if you can find period dramas that have like a historian who is actually working on set with the production company to make this series or movie or whatever. Even better if you can like find the featurettes where the historian is actually talking about the different historical elements. That's like gold if you can find that. But otherwise, reading books that have been written in that era are really good for getting that vocabulary and just kind of understanding what society was like back then. What was the sort of small world of a person's life, depending on what kind of person you're writing about and where in the world they are. Just understanding sort of the daily struggles and trials that they might have gone through. Let's see. Questions. Okay. AES, what is your advice for people who struggle to stick to an outline? Outlining takes the fun out of it for me, but if I just pants it, I normally end up with a mess plot-wise. Yeah, this can definitely be a difficult balance to strike between these two things, because you have the flip side of plotting, which is pantsing, of course, where you have no idea what's going to happen. And so there's this sense of suspense and surprise for you as the author, and you can kind of enjoy the explorative, imaginative journey of that. I would say take all of those things, like keep that imaginative aspect alive where you don't fully know what's going to happen, but utilize some sort of structure going into it, even just a bullet point outline. And I know the word outline can be constricting sounding to a lot of pantsers, but if you just go into it knowing, okay, I'm generally going to follow this character arc transformation, this journey of change for my character, and it's generally going to hit these points. I do this all the time when I'm working with my sister to co-write our book series together, because she is more of a visionary writer. She's not an outliner at all. And so because I'm an intense outliner, we kind of have to strike a balance between the two things. And I will have notes that I just keep to myself that are more detailed, but when I am plotting with her, we'll come up with like a basic structure for the story, and we know that we can deviate from it a little bit, but it's generally solid. Like going into it, we know this is a strong structure. So I would say strike a balance between those two things if you can. Let's see. Haley asks, what is your favorite trope? Oh man, my favorite trope is, it's probably a cliche, but enemies to lovers is definitely a favorite trope of mine. I also love like found family heists. Any kind of like sneaky, clever plot that revolves around like a group of characters who are like a found family, and they all have different quirks and character traits and strengths and weaknesses, bonus points that they like make fun of each other lovingly because of those things and have nicknames for each other and have a special like role that they have to play in accomplishing the mission. Oh, it's just, it's a very specific trope, I know, but it's prime. I love it. Okay, one more question. We'll get into our next sprint. Tonally Joe's Rodent Ranch asks, is it okay for another character to call the MC out on their internal conflict through dialogue, or is it just unnatural, just as unnatural as the MC saying their internal conflict themselves? No, there is nuance there for sure, because think about it, self-observation is a lot harder to do than observing somebody else's problem, right? Like we can observe each other's problems way better than we can observe our own problems. So this other character absolutely can call out their internal conflict, but I would recommend masking it sort of behind a behavior. Okay, so instead of cutting right to the belief, like, you always do that because, you know, you think that you're fundamentally unlovable because of your childhood trauma and your parents made you feel like you weren't lovable. Instead of saying it like that, because that would feel a little bit unnatural, you could have this other character maybe call out the fact that this other person is defensive and they cut relationships short and they don't want to get close to people for fear of being hurt. But we don't have to go into the fear of being hurt so much as we just call out the behavior, you know, the misbehavior on the surface. And this is something that you have to give your reader more credit here, because they if you call out the misbehavior, they will be able to read into the misbelief behind the misbehavior. So you have what's happening on the surface, and then you have what's happening below the surface. And those two things, it becomes like the surface of a pond, right? Once we get closer to it and we see the misbehavior, we can look deeper and see the misbelief under the misbehavior. So yes, absolutely, you can have a character call out the other character's misbehavior, and we can sort of see into their internal conflict through that. Okay, I've been talking way too long. Let's get into the next sprint. I'm gonna reset my timer here, and I will answer more questions at the next break. that is sprint number 2 finished. Fantastic work, guys. I hope that was a productive sprint for you. Type in the chat, tell me how many words you wrote. I have been working on the nonfiction book this whole time. Still trying to organize as I'm writing, which is chaotic, but it's all good. I'm looking forward to getting a clear sense of how all these chapters are going to be laid out. But this is the roughest of drafts right now, so I'm just trying to get all my ideas down. Let's see. Looks like you guys had a great sprint. Awesome. Fantastic work. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to answer a few questions, and then we'll get into the final sprint. A super chat came in from Richard. Thank you so much, Richard. I'm stuck between 2 prologues. One establishes main character's backstory, and the other establishes the world, the conflict of the story. I want the main character's backstory mysterious until later in the book. I also don't want an exposition dump. Okay, good question. So as far as deciding between these 2 prologues, one explains the world and the conflict, the overarching conflict. One explains the main character's backstory, but you want the backstory to be a little bit shrouded in mystery. I totally understand that. I always err on the side of, when going into a story, I want to care about the characters first and foremost. The world building and the overarching global conflict of what's going on in the story, that is not as personal because that doesn't have internal conflict, right? I mean, there is lots of conflict there. It's a lot of external conflict, and it's great that you've established this because it's going to be so important to your story. But the most important thing at the very beginning of your story is to make your reader care about your character. Okay, they have to care about this conflict that this character personally has. So even if we don't know their whole past and their whole backstory and what exactly happened to them, can we get a little bit of a taste of that just so that we can see who this character is, what they want, what they desire, what they're afraid of, some of the fatal flaw that's holding them back? That is the why behind everything, right? That's the juicy internal conflict that's going to make us relate to and sympathize with this character. So even if we don't know everything that happened, even if they're a little bit mysterious, early on, can you give us a taste of what will make us feel empathy for this character? So important. So that would be what I would focus on the most. And then as the world building unfolds, I would have the character sort of stepping into that world and exploring it as we, the reader, vicariously explore it through them. Let's see. Question from Kristen. Is it okay if my characters are a bit cliche? 2 of my main side characters are quite stereotypical, but they still have internal conflicts and character arcs. Yes, absolutely. Cliches are cliche for a reason. Honestly, there are so many cliches in best-selling novels that have just gone down in history, and some people are like, oh, that's so cliche. But hey, you know, people loved it. Things are cliche because they get used again and again because people love them. So there's really nothing wrong with your characters being a little bit cliche or fitting into a stereotype. I would say if that annoys you, if that bothers you, this is like a little bit of a splinter in your brain, then you can find ways to make something a little bit unexpected. Give them a little bit of a character trait that's contradictory. Okay, so maybe you have a very stereotypical, like, quiet, nerdy character who's, you know, into maths, and they are very reclusive and introverted and shy. Can we give them a little bit of a twist on their character that contradicts all of that? Like maybe they have like a daredevil streak and they do, like, I don't know, motocross stuff on the side. I don't know, something that's a little bit unexpected. Find a way to give them a little bit of an unexpected twist to their character, and you'll automatically feel like, oh, okay, they have hidden depths. It's kind of fun. Beerbro asks, how do I write many action-packed scenes without making them get old? So yeah, action after a while can feel like redundant. I would recommend finding a balance in a choreography. It's sort of like music. It's like dynamic change, like I talked about in the Little Women video, emotional dynamic change. If everything is always like up on this high intensity level, then the action scenes don't stand out, right? And they get monotonous and we start skipping them. So if you find a balance between this, I've found that studying your favorite stories is a good way to do this. If you find a story, a movie, a book, a TV show that you're like, this is a perfect balance of action and quieter moments of contemplation and character choices, study, okay, where are the beats where that happens? How long do action sequences last? How's the choreography of the action? Is a little bit of action and high intensity and then more of a suspense and then some more action and high intensity? There is a choreography to action that I believe you can study in your favorite stories, and you can sort of structure out across an action scene or a battle sequence or something like that, so that you're not fatiguing your reader with all the heavy duty action components. But it's a balance for sure. Let's see, question from Jenna Clark. How do you fully get your reader? I am writing fiction. I can't seem to find many places to put internal conflict. I know I need it to truly hook my reader, but I can't make it fit well. Okay, so if you're starting from scratch here and you're writing, say, your first chapter or the opening of your book, and you're not sure how to incorporate this internal conflict, first things first, figure out what it is yourself. Okay, so if you feel a little bit vague, like I don't know what to incorporate here, chances are you haven't fully sank in your teeth into who this character is. So try to really explore that on your own, just with your own notes and your own outlines, your own scribbles and notebooks, whatever is your brainstorming process. Figure out who this character is deep down. What are their desires and fears? What is their fatal flaw that's holding them back? What's their personality type? You can utilize things like the Enneagram also to dive deeper into this. And then from there, from this place of understanding, ask yourself, okay, how would this character with all their internal conflict behave on the surface? I was talking about this a little bit earlier, answering someone else's question. The misbehavior versus the misbelief. The misbehavior is what we see on the surface. The misbelief is a result. It is the root of the misbehavior, right? The misbelief. But that's what's below the surface. And this clear distinction has helped me so much to incorporate internal conflict in a natural way without the character being too self-observing and objective of themselves. You don't want that. They aren't their own therapists, but they do misbehave, right? They behave, they make decisions and choices and take actions based on their misbeliefs. And that's what we see in the plot. And then just from there, finding natural ways to make the plot force them outside their comfort zone. And this is all stuff that I'm going really deep into in this nonfiction book I'm writing. So I'm going to get back to doing that and stay tuned for that. Okay, let's get into our last writing sprint, third and final. Let's go. Let's finish strong, guys. 25 minutes on the clock. Let's do this. Boom. Final sprint, guys. Wonderful work. I hope that was a fulfilling and fun and productive session for you guys. Type in the chat, tell me how it went. How did this last sprint go, and how did the whole session go? I hope it was a super productive one for you. It was very productive for me. I got a lot of words written and thoughts organized. Sometimes that's the more difficult part, is organizing your thoughts, right? But like I said before, this is like the roughest draft of my nonfiction book that I'm currently working on. So super excited to get it finished and get it out to you guys. I'm hoping to do that this year. It's my big project for the year. So awesome. You guys had a wonderful, very productive sprint, it looks like, and session. So cool. It's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you had a great time writing. I certainly enjoyed writing with you. And remember, we do these every single month. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, hit the subscribe button. I don't want you to miss the next one or any of my upcoming videos. I have a lot of fun content planned for you guys. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss that. And if you enjoy this community aspect of hanging out with other writers, chatting and sharing your work, then definitely consider joining my Patreon so that you can join the Discord community that is available at any level of my Patreon. So the link to that is below this live stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and writing with me. I hope to see you in the next one. And remember also, we're upcoming on June very soon. June is always one of my favorite months of the year because we always do a writing retreat together. So for the whole month of June, we're going to be doing Write With Me live streams. I'll be here holding you accountable to working on your novels, working on your writing projects every single Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. More details on that coming soon. At the end of May, I'm going to post a official announcement video for that with all the details of how to participate in the writing retreat. So I hope to see you for that, and I hope to see you around on the channel and in the community. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and happy writing, and as always, rock on.